So thank you, Moro. So first of all, I'd earlier indicated that COCOBOD had a negative equity.
What does that mean?
Okay, so COCOBOD's liabilities were far in excess
Of its assets.
So by about 1.4 billion.
Oh.
And so
Dollar.
Cedis.
Okay.
Technically speaking, it's
insolvent.
It's insolvent. Yeah. Technically speaking, it's insolvent. So it's an insolvent company.
Right.
So that's the first thing. Two, it's a company that had debts of close to 33 billion, 32 point, I think about 4 billion cedis. Okay. Now, I need to explain something with the debt. COCOBOD had an exposure of 21 billion cedis with respect to just cocoa roads. Now, people tend to confuse it. They think that the 32.4 billion includes the 21 billion. No. The 21 billion cedis has to do with contracts, road contracts that COCOBOD has signed. Now, in this 32.4 billion, you have 4.4 billion of cocoa roads debt. 4.4 billion. So this 4.4 billion has to do with works that have been completed and certificates issued, which were sitting at the cash office of COCOBOD. So these are certificates raised and certified by the consultants, which were at our cash office. That's 4.4 billion. So the 32.4 billion includes only 4.4 billion of certificates raised and certified sitting at the cash office of COCOBOD. What it means is that you have an additional about 17 billion or so that you have not had certificates raised yet. But these are contracts that have been signed by COCOBOD. Don't forget that COCOBOD is not one of the road agencies as far as the Ministry of Roads is concerned. The Ministry of Roads itself and all its agencies have an exposure of 67 billion, which they are crying over. So Ministry of Roads, with all its highways, feeder roads, urban roads, and all that, they are crying over an exposure of 67 billion. And COCOBOD had an exposure of 21 billion on roads.
Interesting. Back to the issue about what you inherited. Again, we'll move on from there because we now need to talk about what currently is happening. So you talked about inheriting more like a moribund, an insolvent company. You talked about the pricing, big problem with the pricing. Then you also discovered that there were rollovers. What else have you discovered? Because I saw the video of some sacks, jute sacks that were, that's what I'm asking about. What else inherited?
When you take the issue of procurement, for example,
okay,
when I assumed office in those same presentations, so from the procurement department, they indicated that we had close to 200 containers of agrochemicals and jute sacks that are supposed to be at the ports and had not been cleared for over a 3-year period. And so these things were there, had not been cleared, and COCOBOD was still procuring. So if you take the jute sacks, for instance, tomorrow, as I speak with you today, COCOBOD is made available enough jute sacks and twines for the 25-26 season. But guess what? None of the jute sacks at the ports, about 114,000 on paper, about 114,000, has been cleared. None. We are still trying to locate the containers. I think about 2-3 weeks ago, Customs gave us permission to go open about 5. They didn't find those 5 containers, so we are still on. The NIB, formerly BNI, is also on those cases. Now, so about 114,000 of these jute sacks, which they kept importing and not clearing are there. So they import the juice sacks, they are unable to clear them, but they import again. And they are unable to clear them, and they import again. Meanwhile, we had over 70,000 in our stores. When they were leaving in December, they issued an irrevocable letter of credit, $48 million on our Ghana International Bank account for another 80,000 bills of juice sacks.
Just this December?
Just this December. When on paper, there was about 114,000 that has not been cleared at the ports. There are over 70,000 in our stores. But they issued an irrevocable letter of credit for $48 million in December 2024 for another 80,000. Now, Moro, this 114,000, we have not seen them yet. This 80,000, I've seen some of the bill of lading, so they've started arriving, but we have not taken custody of them yet.
Okay.
However, for 25-26, we are relying on what is in the stores to go through the season. So why were they importing these juice sacks year after year, not clearing them, but still importing and issuing irrevocable letters of credit for them? So once the supplier is able to show bill of ladings to the extent that they've supplied everything, CIF, to the Tema port, they are done. The bank is obliged to pay them the money. And that is how it has been. So on those 114,000, we don't owe the supplier. He has delivered at Tema port, he has taken his money. On the 80,000, when he issues the last bill of lading, Ghana International Bank will release the 48 million to him. Now, this is 25-26. And we are not relying on this 114,000, whether they are still there or not. The agencies are checking, we'll find out. Plus the 80,000. But we still have enough in the stores to deal with 25-26 season. So what went into the procurement? And why would any managers of an entity be importing things, not clearing them, and importing more? To the extent that even when over a 3-year period, you have not been able to clear 114,000 at the port. December of 2024, you issue $48 million irrevocable letter of credit for another 80,000. For what? For what?
Are those people who did what they did, are they being queried over these decisions?
Well, I need to focus on my job.
Okay.
There are agencies
that are dealing with that.
that are dealing with those things. Anytime the agencies write to us, they want information, we release the information. So BNI, NIB, I know is working on the issue of some of the containers. The Special Prosecutor's Office wrote to us asking for some documents we have provided. IOCO wrote to us asking for some information. We have provided that. The Auditor General is doing a special audit from January 2017 to January 2025. They're actually there. They've issued their first set of queries. I have put cover letters on these queries to those who were in charge at the time to provide the answers to these queries. I'm here to check with the office if the responses have come. And so I'm doing my job. The agencies that are responsible for dealing with these issues would also do theirs.